Most people who start investing check their portfolio at least once a day. A 2023 study found that the average investor opens their brokerage app 4.7 times per day, and every single time they do it, they're actively sabotaging their returns. The constant monitoring isn't making them better investors, it's making them worse ones. The paradox is that the less people watch the market, the better their long-term results tend to become. My name is Don, and I help people understand investing, personal finance, and building wealth. If you're interested in learning about growing your money without the stress of constant market watching, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this information helps you out. Here's what most people don't understand about successful investing. The investors who tend to make the most money aren't the ones glued to their screens analyzing every market movement. They're typically the ones who set up a system, fund it consistently, and then largely ignore it. Warren Buffett has said his favorite holding period is forever. He's not checking stock prices every hour. He's not reacting to daily fluctuations. He's built a strategy that works regardless of what the market does on any given Tuesday. Research from Vanguard shows that investors who check their portfolios daily underperform those who check monthly by an average of 1.5% annually. And investors who check monthly underperform those who check quarterly by another 0.8%. The math is brutal. The more people look, the worse they tend to do. This happens because of something psychologists call myopic loss aversion. When people check their portfolios frequently, they see more short-term losses, even though those losses are temporary noise in a long-term upward trend. The brain interprets these paper losses as real threats and triggers emotional responses that lead to bad decisions. Let me break down how a low-maintenance investment approach actually works and why it tends to outperform constant monitoring. The foundation starts with understanding what different investment vehicles actually are. Many people buy individual stocks because it feels exciting, like they're doing something smart and active. But research consistently shows that over 80% of professional fund managers can't beat a simple index fund over 10 years. If people whose full-time job is picking stocks can't beat the market, the odds aren't great for someone doing it part-time while working another job. Index funds are designed to solve this problem. When someone buys a total stock market index fund, they own tiny pieces of thousands of companies simultaneously. They're not betting on whether Apple will beat Microsoft or whether tech will outperform healthcare. They're betting that the entire economy will grow over time, which it has done consistently for over a century despite wars, recessions, pandemics, and every crisis in between. A low-maintenance investment system typically has a few key components. First is account selection. Different account types like Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, or standard brokerage accounts have different tax implications and eligibility requirements. Each serves different purposes depending on someone's financial situation, age, and goals. The specifics matter, which is why talking to a qualified financial professional about which account type fits a particular situation can be valuable. Second is investment selection. Total stock market index funds from major providers like Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab typically have expense ratios under 0.1%. Meaning someone pays less than $10 per year for every $10,000 invested. These funds are designed to track the entire market rather than trying to beat it. They're essentially the same type of product across different companies, just with different ticker symbols. Third is the automation component, and this is where the psychology gets interesting. Research from Morningstar shows that investors using automatic contributions invest 62% more over 5 years than those relying on manual deposits, even when both groups had the same income. The difference isn't discipline or income level. It's that automation removes the friction of having to make a decision every single time. Here's what automation looks like in practice. Someone decides on a specific amount to invest regularly, say monthly. They set up a recurring transfer from their bank account to their investment account on a specific date. Then they set up an automatic purchase of their chosen investment with that money a few days later, giving the transfer time to clear. The system runs itself. There's no monthly decision about whether to invest or whether the market looks good. It just happens. This is where things get psychologically challenging. Even when people set up automation, many still check their accounts constantly, watching the balance fluctuate, getting excited when it's green and anxious when it's red. And that emotional roller coaster is what research shows tends to destroy returns. The issue isn't willpower. Telling someone not to check their portfolio is like telling them not to think about a pink elephant. Brains don't work that way. Instead, the solution is environmental design that makes constant checking harder and less rewarding. One approach some investors use is removing brokerage apps from their phones entirely. The logic is simple. They don't need instant access to their investment account. Nothing typically happens in a few hours that requires immediate action. Major brokerages have websites accessible from computers if someone actually needs to check something, but the friction of having to sit down and log in manually eliminates most compulsive checking behavior. This might sound extreme until you understand what's happening psychologically with each app check. When someone sees their account is up, they get a small dopamine hit. The brain learns that checking the app sometimes produces rewards, which creates a variable reward schedule, the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. People can literally train themselves to become addicted to checking their portfolios, and research suggests that addiction correlates with poor investment decision-making. But there's a deeper layer here. Even if someone successfully avoids checking daily, they need to know how to think about it when they do check and see their portfolio is down 15%. Because that will happen. Not maybe. Definitely. The stock market drops 10% or more about once every 2 years on average. Drops of 20% or more happen roughly once every 6 years. Drops of 30% or more happen about once every decade. When this happens, the emotional brain typically screams to sell. Every instinct tells people to stop the bleeding, get out while they still can, wait for things to stabilize before getting back in. And if people listen to those instincts, they lock in losses and miss the recovery that historically has always followed. Research from Dalbar shows that the average investor earned just 3.8% annually over the 20 years ending in 2019, while the S&P 500 returned 10.1%. That massive gap exists almost entirely because of emotional selling during downturns. People see their accounts drop, panic, sell at the bottom, wait too long to get back in, and miss the recovery. They turn temporary paper losses into permanent, real losses through their own behavior. Understanding this intellectually is one thing. Actually maintaining that understanding when headlines are screaming about crashes and an account is down thousands of dollars is completely different. The rational brain knows that historically, staying invested has been the right move, but the emotional brain goes into full panic mode. One strategy some investors use is creating what psychologists call a pre-commitment device. They make a decision in advance when they're thinking clearly that overrides emotional decisions they might make later under stress. Think of Ulysses tying himself to the mast so he couldn't steer toward the sirens. Some investors write down their strategy, something like, when the market drops 20% or more, I will not sell. I will continue my automatic investments and buy more shares at lower prices. They put this somewhere visible so future them will see it when panic sets in. Now let's talk about market timing, because this trips up even people who aren't checking constantly. Many investors believe they need to wait for the right moment to invest. They sit on cash thinking they'll invest when the market drops, but then when it actually drops, they get scared and wait for it to drop more or stabilize. Meanwhile, they're losing purchasing power to inflation and missing out on potential gains. A study by Charles Schwab compared 5 different hypothetical investors over 20 years. One invested at the market peak every year, literally the worst possible timing. One invested at the market bottom every year, perfect timing. One invested on the first day of every year. $1 cost averaged monthly, and one just held cash. The investor with perfect timing, buying at the exact bottom every year, ended up with the most money, obviously. But here's what matters. The investor with the worst possible timing, buying at the peak every year, still massively outperformed the person who held cash. And the monthly dollar cost averaging investor came remarkably close to the perfect timer's returns. The difference between terrible timing and perfect timing was meaningful but not life-changing. The difference between investing and not investing was enormous. This research suggests that consistent investing can outweigh timing considerations. People can have objectively bad timing and still do well as long as they're consistently investing. The people who struggle aren't necessarily the ones who bought at the peak. They're often the ones who never bought at all because they were waiting for the perfect moment. Automatic monthly investing addresses this completely. Someone buys every month regardless of market conditions. Some months they buy high, some months they buy low. Over decades, it averages out to something close to optimal, and there's no need to predict anything or time anything. But there's still one more obstacle that trips people up even after they've automated everything and committed to not selling during drops. They start comparing their returns to what they could have made with different choices. They see Bitcoin went up 100% and think they missed out. They see some stock tripled and convince themselves they should be picking individual winners. They see someone on social media bragging about gains and feel like a boring index fund strategy isn't good enough. This is comparison bias, and research shows it's harmful to long-term wealth building. For every person who made 100% on some speculative investment, there are many who lost 50% and aren't posting about it. This is survivorship bias in action. The winners are loud, the losers are silent, and brains incorrectly assume the winning strategy is more common than it actually is. Index fund investing won't generate exciting stories about stocks that went to the moon, but over 30 years of consistent investing, research suggests it tends to outperform the vast majority of people trying to beat the market through individual stock picking or market timing. The math is straightforward. A 10% average annual return, which is roughly what the stock market has delivered historically, turns $500 per month into approximately $1.1 million in 30 years. That's not from picking winners or timing crashes or watching CNBC. That's from buying broad market exposure every month and leaving it alone. Here's what makes a passive system powerful. Once it's set up, it requires minimal ongoing attention. Some investors check in quarterly, maybe monthly, just to verify automation is working and adjust contribution amounts if income changes. That's it. No daily price checking, no news monitoring, no stress about whether to buy or sell. The approach isn't about being smarter than the market. It's not competing with hedge fund managers who have teams of analysts and sophisticated technology. It's about consistently buying ownership in thousands of companies and letting compound growth do what it's historically done for over a century. But understanding this intellectually and actually implementing it are two different things. The investors who tend to succeed aren't necessarily the ones with the most knowledge or the best market predictions. Research suggests they're the ones who built a system that works automatically and then had the discipline to leave it alone. The market will go up and down. Headlines will scream about crashes and bubbles. People will predict the next big thing and the next big crash. For a passive investment strategy, none of that requires action. The approach is buying, holding, and ignoring the noise. And historically, that approach has built wealth for people who stuck with it over decades. This isn't about what someone should do with their money. That's a personal decision that depends on individual circumstances, risk tolerance, time horizon, and financial goals. This is about understanding how passive investment strategies work, why they work, and what the research shows about investor behavior and returns. What someone actually does with this information is their choice, ideally made in consultation with a qualified financial professional who understands their specific situation.